Awareness Committee of the Whole meeting of the Runland Area School District 116 Board of Education on Monday, November 4th, 2013 at 7 p.m. in the Runland High School Theater. May I have a roll call, please? Here. 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 Here.
Here. Here.
Now please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have within your packets information on the new 2013 school report cards, which are listed on the Illinois State Board of Education website, and there is a link which can be easily found on the school district website. And this site offers a district snapshot. It has been created in such a way so that it's more friendly for the user. It shares information on academic progress, the district environment, as well as student characteristics and the schools and the district. And this links to the individual school report. So you have an opportunity, and anyone who is interested, to go to the district website or to the State Board of Education website to find the new format for the school report cards. Any questions? We also have next, we are into the implementation of our school restructuring, and we are going to begin with the elementary or the K through 8 school restructuring plan, and just wanted to be sure that we had an opportunity to have a larger format for this, so that if there were any parents or any other individuals from the community who wanted to be here and hear where we are with the implementation of our school restructuring program. So we are excited about the information that we have to share. We're going to begin with Dr. Julie Roberts coming forward. She's going to be accompanied by Mr. Phil Georgia, and they will be sharing where we are with our restructuring. And we will take more time with these two reports tonight, both the high school report and the K through 8 report, than what we normally do, because this year we're combining all of the elementary and middle schools together to share the data on what's going on and where we are, and we are doing the same with the high school. So there will be 2 additional reports throughout the school year, which will share where we are as the year progresses. Keely?
Good evening. I am very excited to start tonight.
Do you have a microphone?
Yes, I do. Better? Oh, better. Okay, so I'm very excited to share with you tonight some of the data and some of the efforts in the schools around the K-8 teaching and learning restructuring plan. I know we spent a lot of time on this last year. And I guess I want to start by saying to the board, you should be incredibly proud of the work happening in the schools. The teachers have been doing incredible things. The principals, our leaders, have been doing incredible things. We're very proud to share with you what's been happening. 3 parts to our presentation. We're going to start tonight with our current reality. Dr. Collins has really challenged us to keep the board abreast of the current work that's happening in the schools and the data attached to that work. So you're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. We're going to talk to you about the work in progress. And this will be very much connected to what you saw last spring and last winter around the restructuring and then we'll talk about the next steps of our process going forward. Our current reality, we wanted to start by sharing a little bit of the current data. I know you've heard a few board presentations ago about our ISAT data. As you know, we now are well into the school year. We've had our first round of fall testing, and we wanted to share with you our fall math scores. What you see here is a bar graph representation of both the reading and the math performance of each of our schools. We've had some conversation with the board about this year being a very big year for math in the schools. Our end of grade math testing switched. We talked last year about that ISAT flip to a Common Core aligned math test, or ISAT test. This year as a district, we have that Common Core aligned math test. So it is a much harder, much more rigorous assessment, but it's definitely Common Core aligned, which is where we need to be. So what you're seeing here now is the far left bar graph represents K-8, and then you see each of the schools broken out by mean performance for each of the buildings. The purpose of this slide is really just to share with the board that when you look at those elementary schools as a cluster, or you look at those middle schools, really the level of performance is pretty similar across all of the buildings. These next few slides, we thought it was really important to share the same bar that we're looking at in terms of performance, so that as we come back to you after each presentation, we're talking about the same pieces, comparing apples to apples. What you're seeing here is a representation of student performance on math about this national median. I think the importance of looking at the national median is we're thinking about our students' performance as it's compared to the top 50th percentile national. So how do our Round Lake students do as compared to their national peers? And that's important for us as we think about our students, not just in Round Lake, but in the future. So what you're seeing here is a breakout both reading and math by grade level across the district. One thing that's interesting as we start this restructuring endeavor is that anecdotally there's been a lot of conversation about math being a relative strength in the district. And what we're starting to see now is that we have stronger performance in reading. So keep that in mind as we slice the data a little differently. What you see here is again that same piece of data around the percentage of students that are scoring at or above that 50th percentile nationally. This graph clearly indicates that we have some work to do. We want to see increased levels of performance. And when we come back to you after with each presentation, you're going to see these same slides updated as you move along during the course of the year so that you can see progress in these same areas. But again, what we're seeing here is the data is broken out by building. We're seeing that same trend of reading performance being a little bit stronger than the math performance. Another way to slice the data, and another way to look at, we see that reading trend really being solid across all areas. We're seeing that as we break out our performance data by subgroups, those ISAT subgroups that we're really familiar with, we're seeing that we still see that same pattern of reading being a little bit stronger. And we continue to see that the LEP students and our IEP students are our two lowest subgroups. That's consistent with what we've seen in the district historically. This is a very important slide for us. As you know, with restructuring, a great deal of what we're working towards is not just increased levels of proficiency for students, where they're at, where that bar is, but we're looking for growth. That's a huge, huge component of the restructuring efforts is ensuring that every single student in our district makes at least 1 year's worth of growth during one school year. This bar graph represents from fall of last year to fall of this year, the percentage of students that made their typical growth target. So that typical growth being what you would expect a typical student at that grade level to make in one school year. Again, when you look across the district, we have some work to do. We know we have some work to do, but that's exactly what we're focused on. This is a very fun slide. I like this slide. I think it's interesting because what we're doing in this slide is comparing cohort growth, looking at the same students over time. What you see here is the math national percentile range. So what we get from our NWE data is that national percentile performance. But what we're doing is we're comparing the same group of students from last year to this year at the same point in time. So let's look at second grade. Last year in the district, and this is reading only, we're looking at reading only right now. You'll see why we tied so closely or drilled so closely into reading when we start to talk about our efforts this year. What you've seen in that second grade group is our second grade students across the district last year, in the fall of last year, scored at about the 27th percentile nationally. Now remember, I mentioned earlier that last year we were taking that older math test. This year we flipped that Common Core aligned math test. What we anticipate is what we talked about with you guys earlier around ISAT, that we knew we made that flip to Common Core ISAT, we saw a big drop in our scores. And we anticipated that and prepared for it. At a similar level, we expect to see a similar type dip when we took a Common Core math test, right? The first Common Core test in the spring, we saw a drop, we knew that. We kind of prepared for that a little bit this year when we took that Common Core math test. What we're seeing is that we didn't have the same drop that we had with ISAC. So when you look at second grade, fall of last year, this was a student score of 27th percentile nationally. This year's third graders on a much harder math test, they scored in the 26th percentile. So we held our ground a little bit as compared to how we did with ISAC. And we actually see that when you look at our 7th to 8th graders, they had an increase in performance. Again, this is not the level of performance we want to stay at. We won't stay at this level, but I think it's important for the board to see the last year, same students compared to the same students this year, at this point in time. So now I'm going to share, and Diane gets to do all the fun stuff. She gets to talk about what we're working on now, so I'm going to pass it off to Diane.
And I just want to say, first of all, thank you for allowing us to present on our first quarter update to all of you this evening. And yes, Keely's where I get to talk about what we're actually doing at the buildings. And I want to say thank you to our staff, our certified staff, our non-certified staff, and our building principals, because they are doing the work that we shared with you in the spring that we were going to be doing this year. So our overarching themes, again, are building systems for all of our students. That's all those subgroups, those LEP students, and those special education students. So all of them are having those opportunities to participate and be exposed to Common Core and all of our other curriculum as we move forward. And just following through, being very specific and very direct on what we need to be doing across the district. Again, our three basic, most important goals for our department is for this year. Last year we had the literacy review. This year we are looking at the math review program, and we're starting that off actually tomorrow with a large group committing to look at our math materials. We're looking at that systematic K-8 model for that professional development. So taking all of the things that we need to be doing and ensuring that our staff and our principals have the professional development and the tools they need to move instruction and student growth forward. And then the last thing is, we talked a lot about response to intervention and how that tiered approach allows for it to touch all of our students, both intervention and enrichment. So our new literacy curriculum, we talked a lot about it last year. I'm not going to read through everything, but some of the highlights is those instructional minutes, what we're having students participate in throughout the school day, both at the K-5 as well as the 6th, 8th grade level. We're involving all of our students in subgroups, again, so they are exposed to all of the curriculum and the literacy across the K-8 environment. And again, it is a research-based, systematic approach, and we are utilizing strong literacy instruction and professional development to ensure that our staff is prepared to instruct our students to seek growth. I now have the opportunity, instead of you listening to me and Dr. Roberts, even though we're fascinating, we do have a couple folks from our building level that we'd like to just share some short snippets from.
Hi, I'm Dr. Anna Fever, and I am principal of Village Elementary School. I'm here today to share with you some of the benefits that come with having a new literacy series in place in our schools. The first is now we have updated curriculum that is fully aligned to the new Common Core standards. This is very important because these are the standards by which our students' achievement will now be measured. This also means that teachers must raise the level of rigor in their teaching, and the literacy series provides the tools for them to do so. The second benefit I'd like to share is that we are now aligned in our curriculum from kindergarten all the way to 8th grade. And this is excellent for teaching and for learning. We're all teaching the same concepts across the grade levels or within the grade levels. We are following the same curriculum and pacing guides, which provide a very clear roadmap of instruction for our teachers. And also, it provides consistency in lesson planning. Another great benefit is that now students have great materials in their hands between all the books they have and which brings the stories to life, students have many opportunities for 21st century learning. It's been a great experience to go into classrooms and see the same concepts being taught in different classes within a grade level, but with the teachers adding their personal touch to their lessons. It's truly an exciting time for teaching and learning in our schools. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Rogan. I teach at the Round Lake Middle School. This is my 20th year in Round Lake. I wanted to talk for a minute about the new language arts series that we've implemented. We're seeing great benefits of the new Pearson series. First of all, we've increased our teaching time to double blocks, which is a 90-minute period instead of 50. It's giving the teachers the opportunity to work with students one-on-one, to work with kids in small groups, and we're really able to meet the needs of all our students. The kids are very engaged in these lessons. They're high interest. They're packed with nonfiction, stories, and videos, which are very interesting to the kids. Rigor has really increased on this new series. We're seeing that it's preparing the students for the 21st century. The technology component is also outstanding with this piece. It gets the kids interested. Kids who are visual learners have the opportunity to really understand the vocabulary at a deeper level, and the kids absolutely love it. I've never been more inspired and never done better teaching in 20 years than I am right now with our new series. It's so exciting to see the kids be excited about their learning, to be engaged, and really to be challenged at a great higher level. It's been a fantastic start. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Thanks.
And I think if you would go to other buildings and talk with other administrators and teachers, you would hear that excitement as well, specifically with the literacy. So we're really looking forward to, as we put forth a recommendation to the board regarding the math series as well, to really get everybody excited about all the points of learning. The second piece is certainly our professional development. Again, stated earlier, Pearson has been a part of this school year and will continue to be, to ensure that our staff is fully trained and ready to implement all aspects of the literacy program. And again, connecting student need and real-time learning. All certified staff members are being trained, as I said, and looking at that site-based teams and plans. So really individualizing at the base, at the student level, at the building level, to ensure that all the needs are being met. One of the things that's really new and exciting this year is our intervention IE block. And we have 30 minutes a day at the elementary level and 1 period a day, about 47 minutes at the middle school. And it really is based on student need. So if students are requiring something specific in comprehension, for example, we have information based on their scores and other assessments to help place them in the intervention block that is most appropriately going to be meeting their needs. I would say, as we look at both the intervention and the enrichment components throughout this school year, I'm really looking forward to talking about second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, to help you understand some of the things that have been going on. We will be tweaking and making some of those changes as we go through the year as well, to ensure that the research-based interventions and the enrichment block is really targeting students for that academic growth. The common collaboration time at the K-5 is also new this year and really gives our classroom teachers the opportunity to talk to each other, a designated set time where they can talk about instruction and students, to come together to come up with strategies and other suggestions from each other so that learning can be occurring consistently across grade levels, building levels. It also provides that active participation at the building level. The administrators, they know when the common plan time is, so they can go in and participate in those professional learning communities and working with their teachers throughout the school day. And that's a really exciting thing to see happen. And now I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Phil Georgia, who is principal at Murphy.
Good evening, everyone. Phil Georgia, principal at Murphy Elementary School. Just wanted to let you know that both Kaylee and Dr. Burnett were both wrong. I get the most exciting part of the presentation tonight. I'm going to try and just put a little meat on the bones of what they've just been presenting from our experience at Murphy this year, because it truly has been exciting. I think one of the biggest things that will bring that through you is to do a little comparison with last year. So last year at this time, we knew many challenges that we were facing. We had old curriculum, little time for teachers to collaborate, few options for special classes other than PE and music, and separate general education and bilingual programs. We're also entering this restructuring conversation. As the district and community explored the various options, the theme schools, grade level centers, if you remember all those dark days perhaps, or exciting days as we were kind of exploring and figuring it all out, there was a great deal of uncertainty. This year, when we started school, there was so much excitement. Our teachers knew what we were going to be doing. They knew the plan we were going to put in place, and they were ready to just go. Our theme for the year was dive in. We're going to do a lot of new stuff, and we're just going to dive in and make it happen. And that's what's been happening. Last year, we sent out a letter to all the parents in our district, telling them that we haven't been making AYP, and that we have had to do certain things. We've had to implement the SES services, supplemental education services, like the Horizons program. We've had to redo our curriculum. We've had to make a lot of changes. And parents would call us and be like, well, or that the other option is that parents could send their kids to another school in the district. And so we would have to explain to the parents, well, the other schools in the district are sending out the same letter that we sent out. We're all kind of in the same boat. And we try and put a positive spin on a not very positive situation. This year, I had parents call me after getting that letter. And it was so refreshing to be able to say, that letter you got is not a negative. We've had to restructure, but we've done amazing things for kids because of restructuring. We're able to offer more specials. We're able to give the kids much better opportunities. So last year, as you might have seen, our teachers were using about 13-year-old textbooks for literacy. This year, the Reading Streets program that Dr. Fear just talked about, and that the lady from the middle school talked about, it's providing so many more resources to our teachers than they've ever had. There's resources they can pull from the web. They've got hard copy resources. They've got the stories on CD for the kids to listen to. Teachers are discovering new things every week. Oh, there's this part we can use for guided reading, or this is something that will make the amazing words really come through for the kids. So that's very exciting. Last year, our school had one musical performance per grade level for the whole year. With the new IB block that we've had for intervention and enrichment, our music teacher, Mr. Dvorak, has already had 3 musical performances. He had one for the first grade IE block, another one for second grade, and the 5th grade put on a musical called Willow and Greenwood that Mr. Dvorak has just been incredibly excited about. And the kids wrote the script. They figured out what songs they wanted to have go along with the musical, and planned the whole thing out and had it just the other week. It was a fantastic performance. Last year, our teachers really struggled to find the time to teach our kids who really needed extra help, or to push our kids who really needed that extra boost. They ended up teaching to the middle. This year, because of that IE block, our teachers have been able to meet the kids where they're at and provide them the services that they need. You need to come to our buildings and watch what's happening when you see 4th and 5th grade students who have been struggling for years just finally realizing how some of the basic building blocks of reading work. And when you see them getting something at their level, and you see them getting it, and they're experiencing success, those are the things we know that tell us we're doing something right. I had a parent email me just about a week and a half ago after parent-teacher conferences. And the parent, by his own admission, said, I am the first person to knock everything that I see going wrong. I will let you know when you're not doing it right. And he had to admit, he said, when I see something going right, I guess I need to tell you too. And he said that after the parent-teacher conferences, the thing he realized as a difference from last year to this year is that his daughter was being challenged. And that last year she didn't like school because she was bored. This year, she's in a guided reading group that's pushing her to her highest level, and she loves coming to school. She's excited about her teacher, and I know that Dr. Collins and myself, when I read that email and knew some of the prior communications with this parent, I was just blown away. It was unbelievable. Last year, our English language learners had few options. They were in a bilingual class, an ESL class, or pushed into the gen ed. Those parallel tracks just kind of kept operating, and there wasn't any real commingling or ability for kids to transfer as they improved or as they needed more support. This year, our students are receiving the amount of support they need. If they need to be pulled out or a bilingual resource person needs to work with them for an extra 20 minutes or an extra 30 minutes one week, we can make that happen. If somebody's really getting things and they don't need the support, we don't have to provide it. We can push them off into a higher level group. And we are really excited about seeing the results that those things are going to have. In conclusion, the main thing I want to say to you is thank you. You guys have supported this plan when it was proposed in the spring, and that support is something we greatly appreciate. I know I speak for all of the elementary principals and middle school principals, and we hope that that support continues, and thank you for that future support. Research will show that new programs and initiatives may take 3 to 5 years to show results, but I hope that what you're hearing tonight from myself and my colleagues is that already we are doing amazing things for kids. Thank you.
I have to follow up. Okay, so you can hear from all of us how the great things that are happening, but we still have some more work to do. The data we talked about earlier in the presentation is a reminder to us that it's time to have a capital match. We knew we needed to do that last year, that we made the decision to be really intentional. That it's not about doing as much as we can, as fast as we can. It's about prioritizing the work, choosing the most important things, and being really certain that we've got it right before we move on to the next piece. It is now time to move on to that. So that work has started, and we will be ready for implementation and coming for alignment next school year. Kind of our closing slides are around the next steps of this entire planning curve. And if you take nothing away from tonight, take away our commitment to work this plan. We spent a lot of time working on the restructuring plan. We believe in it. I believe in the staff. I believe in the leaders we have. I believe that our students can achieve at high levels. And we're committed to working this plan start to finish. So our next steps are really monitoring that progress, talking about the fidelity of implementation. This is new for everybody. It is hard work, but it is the right work. Keeping that laser focus on student growth and student proficiency. Ongoing communication. We've added parent universities in each of the schools. Thinking about parent involvement and engagement in a different way. Thinking about informing our parents on the most important pieces of work, how to read data, how to interpret data, how to learn about the new Common Core standards. Making sure that we really value our parents as our students' first teachers, we help them to be great first teachers. And talking about the stability, as we heard through restructuring, stability matters, it's important. And we want to share with our stakeholders that this plan is the right plan and it's here to stay. So you will hear us talk about working the plan for the rest of the year. I'm proud of all of this, so we are excited and we'll answer any questions you have now.
Wonderful. When you present next time,
Yes.
are you going to give us a side-by-side
Yes.
of what this one is plus the next one?
Yes, I think it's really important for all of us, right, to hold ourselves kind of accountable and true, is to look at that same bar, which is why we shared with you this bar of the 50th percentile nationally. How do we compare our students to the top half of all students in the country? We will continue to use that bar. We will use those same slides, so you will see these same pieces every single time, so you can hold us accountable to the program.
Make sure they're going to be like fall side-by-side to the next one.
I promise.
And then just the next one.
I promise.
Okay.
last year that I said always takes it a weird time to get that final data back. So that was a little bit strange to talk about it, but we wanted to make sure we communicated to all of our parents where that end of the year data was, is our kind of our baseline we're moving forward to. And recapping for parents that maybe hadn't known all the nitty-gritty details of the restructuring plan, what our efforts were. So it was the theme of those first round of parent universities was that state of the union, state of the school piece. We also added a little component about reading your child's reports. So we knew fall testing was coming, we wanted to stay ahead of the curve, making sure that we send those reports home about student performance, that our parents know how to interpret that data.
And then how often will they have?
There's three of them here. All right, thank you. I'll turn over to the high school now.
I just want to say, as we are transitioning, I had an opportunity. I started this morning with the principal evaluations, and so we've been going nonstop today, each one of them for an hour, and I'll finish with the rest of them tomorrow. I can't begin to tell you how exciting it is to have them come in with a PowerPoint of what is happening in their school and sharing their data and just the great things. They are excited about it, and in fact, when EEC came in today, I'm embarrassed. I was in tears when we had a chance to hear what's going on at EEC and to see the growth that is taking place. I told them it was all I could do to try to hold it back, and I actually cried when I saw all the good work that was being done there. And so I think that this board, this community, can really be proud of what is happening in our schools and the focus, as Keely said, the laser focus that exists and the work that's being done, and that everyone is taking very seriously that we need to move our schools from good to great. And so without further ado, we're now ready to hear about high school. So we have Dr. Don Mendoza, principal at the high school, and Veronica Lake, who is our deputy superintendent on assignment. And so they're going to talk to us about what's happening at the high school.
I'm actually, can you hear me? Yes. Simple as the forward and back button. Don Mendoza, the interim principal at the high school, and I want to take make a couple initial comments. I want to thank the Board of Education and Dr. Towns for investing in the kids in this community. I think when you see what was just presented in addition to what we'll share, it's very clear that we put a lot of time and resources into trying to improve our practice here at the high school and our elementary and middle schools. I want to thank the central office staff. We've been experiencing high levels of support from them. We sincerely appreciate it. Just a couple of other things. As I conclude my third month here, I do want to say that we do have dedicated staff in the building here. We are so ripe for change. We're so close, and I think the opportunities will abound as we move forward. I also want to compliment our kids. We do have kids of high character in the building, and I actually am fully committed to ensuring that they're provided with the very best education, programmatically and instructionally. And we're committed to continuing to improve. So this gives you an idea of what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover some baseline data in a variety of areas. We are going to talk about restructuring throughout. We will be referring to that. Positions funded and progress updates. I think it's important to provide you with the updates, not only in terms of what we're doing, but also some hypotheses in terms of why. Why are things the way they are? And what do we see moving forward? We'll also refer to the continuous improvement process, share information regarding tactics that we're implementing at the building level to improve. We have added information for the board regarding various grants and partnerships that we have. We also think that's very important for the audience, the parents, because we want you to know that it does take the community to educate us, educate our students. In terms of the data, we are going to be looking at math at the high school level, our freshmen. We're going to be looking at, frankly, one of the single largest indicators that kind of represents the success of a high school in our ACT results and our EPAS. And we'll also share information regarding common summative assessments. This slide is simply designed to share with you what the PSAT exam looks like. You may or may not know that our juniors take this every year. It's a requirement the state has, and it consists of a variety of assessments in multiple areas. So I think it's very clear. You see the ACT reading, math, and science, but it's also important to know that the PSA includes the word keys portion, which is basically a job skills assessment that measures real-world skills that can be applied to the workforce. It helps employers select, hire, attract, and retain our students who ultimately will be in the workforce. So that's PSAE. This slide, simply put, shows the degree to which our Round Lake High School students are college ready, not only in terms of their overall composite score, but also in English, algebra, social science, and biology. ACT defines college readiness in this manner. If you hit the target, that indicates that there's a 50% chance or better that the student would receive a B on a corresponding college level course, or a 75% chance that they would receive college level credit on a corresponding course if they got a C. So that's really how ACT measures success, is college readiness. And that's frankly how we need to gauge our success. These are our map results. I think you saw a very similar slide. The one thing we do not have on here is the cloud with the 50%. So I'm asking you to think back. But basically, if you look at the all column in reading, that means that 49% of our kids scored at the national median, which is 50%. Again, very consistent with what you saw at the K-8 level. Our targets would be the LEP and IEP population. Those are certainly areas of needs and areas that I would consider targets for our building. Again, college readiness, college benchmarks. You're going to hear that theme throughout because frankly, that's where our work needs to be, preparing our kids for life beyond high school. The 70 and 72% indicators on the right of the slide are such that were you to score at that level or higher, NWEA says that you would be college ready. On the left are the results that we have at Round Lake High School. 48% in reading and 40% in math. Moving again to more detailed information on ACT or EPAS. We have 3 different assessments that we give that are part of the EPAS component. It's not just the ACT. Explore is typically given in 8th grade or freshman year. Then you have Plan, which is typically given sophomore year, and then your ACT your junior year. The reason that is important to know is just like was referenced at the elementary level, it's important for us when we want to measure progress for the same groups of kids. So because these exams are developed by the same entity, we're able to track our college readiness performance and determine predictors moving forward for all of our kids in this area. So what you see here are the college readiness benchmarks for Explore, Plan, and ACT. And again, I won't repeat it, but you can see at the bottom of the slide it talks about what success means. 50% of earning a B, 75% of earning a C. Okay, the next 2 slides basically share the same information 2 different ways. And after the 4th slide, I'll talk about some detail in terms of why we feel we're performing the way we are and what are additional ideas that we have moving forward to improve student achievement in this area. So what you're going to see here, again, this is very important. These are the same groups of kids over 2 years. So these are our current seniors. These are the current seniors. The gold slide, for lack of a better term, on English, is how our students scored on the plan, and then a year later, how they performed on the ACT. The 2 lines that you see above that are the overall targets. So what you're basically seeing here is that our kids are growing, they are making progress, However, we're not hitting the expected benchmark overall, from plan to ACT. The next slide shows you the same thing, and in summary, on the right, we do not want to see red numbers. If they were hitting the expected rate of growth, we'd be seeing green, but again, in all of the areas, we are seeing improvement. However, we are still under the expected rate of growth from plan to ACT. The next slide is explore to plan. So these are our current juniors who took the Explore as freshmen and then took plan as sophomores. You're going to see a similar pattern. There is one difference though, and I'll comment on the next slide. Our kids are growing. So from year to year, they are growing. We see that in the slide. However, if you look at where they end up, we're still falling short of the overall benchmark. However, if you move to the next slide, the one difference you'll see from Explore to Plan is that we are exceeding the expected rate of growth in every area, but are still not hitting the benchmark. And that's really something that I think should be celebrated. Why do we think this is happening? I think you heard something really exciting. I'm not sure if you realize what a big deal it is at the elementary level, is they have intervention blocks built into the regular school day. So their kids receive immediate and timely intervention right away. I guess that's redundant, immediate and timely. We don't have that at the high school yet. However, there are things that we can do here, and I will be working with the cabinet to talk about how we can implement some of those things. I think we do a very good job on the front end of providing support to teachers, and in the back end, at Tier 3 level, when things get really difficult for kids, but where one of our gaps lie are in the middle. So if the teachers tried several things and they're running out of ideas, what are additional ways we can provide timely intervention and support for our high school kids, just like they do at the elementary schools? Another thing, I'm not sure how important the kids know that these exams are. Test relevance. You know, I believe that in order to change behavior, you need to change thinking. And in order to change thinking, you cannot over-communicate. I think I once heard in order to change somebody's thinking, you need to communicate something to them 7 times. Well, I think we're on our way, but the first time kids hear about the importance of these exams can't be their junior year, or their sophomore year, or their freshman year, or their 8th grade year. And one of the things that we'll talk to you a little bit about later in the presentation is our 612 counseling plan, which Mrs. Lake has been working on with the counselors, but the entire focus of that at the 6th grade level, even moving on, is emphasizing that transition from 6th to 7th to 8th to high school, with the emphasis on college and career readiness. So test relevance is extremely important. The other thing, and I think this is becoming clear, I do not believe that our kids know how to tactically take these exams. These are not traditional exams that the kids are used to. And frankly, that's our fault. It's not theirs. So I think we need to do a better job of not only communicating the importance of the relevance of the exam, that it sets the course and pathway for them moving forward, but also what are the tactics to do better on the exam, and that's something we will be addressing. How are we going to achieve some of these things? This year, we will be engaging in targeted, focused ACT prep for all of our juniors. All juniors will be provided with that opportunity. That will not only include support for the kids, but comprehensive staff development training for our staff here at Round Lake High School. College and career readiness. I alluded to that a little bit, but we need to communicate the importance of that concept much earlier and much often. The next concept is certainly not something that I'm going to take credit for, but the concept of programs of study. We visited Mundelein High School. They're probably at the forefront of it, and I'm not even sure people are aware that the U.S. Department of Education has developed what's called 16 career clusters. One of them, for example, is government. And for our discussion here, I think that's approved use of it. But within that, there's a variety of professions. You could be a civil engineer, you could be a municipal worker, you could be an educator, You could be a political science major, something like that. Every single thing that they do in terms of providing that customized education is centered around that career cluster. From their core courses, to their electives, to their after-school activities. Our kids are encouraged to take after-school activities that tie in to their career cluster. In addition to that, dual credit opportunities are outlined for them. So we do not have that, but we will. That is something that we will be developing at Round Lake High School. That will not only help our kids, but also our families in terms of emphasizing the importance of college and career readiness. And the last one that I'd like to highlight, and I think this is true at every grade level, is we need to do a better job at our high school of accelerating literacy development across content areas. I know when people hear about literacy development and improving the teaching of reading and the learning of reading, that's not just an elementary or middle school concept. It's really something that we need to do better at the high school. It's about expanding the teaching of reading across content areas. So what does teaching reading look like in science? What does it look like in social studies? What does it look like in PE? So that's something that we're currently working on, and we are developing a plan for that moving forward. This last slide, and I believe this is the last student achievement slide, it is basically a slide that depicts the percentage of grades given at the 4.5-week mark of the first quarter. Now, I have new results. I'll share those with you in a second. But in order for you to get a detailed understanding of this, it's very important that you understand that the way we implement mastery learning at the high school, the grade itself is reflective of how the kids are doing on their assessments. So rather than listing assessments by title or course, we simply felt an easier way to depict this would be by simply listing the grades. And for those of you that want detailed information on grading practices and mastery learning, if you go to our high school website, it is on the main page. We felt like it was important to continue to educate our families on how we're doing that. It is not hard to find. It is on the main page. There's a nice bold header with detailed information as well as an attachment so that you can get more information. But in summary, this shows you the pass rates and the grade rates comparing last year to this year. Now, I would say these were the results without spending any time at all on analyzing why our kids are performing the way they are. Well, we spent the first Institute Day completely focused on this goal individually, and based on the results that I think I printed them about 3 days ago, the failure rate is down into the mid-8s based on the analysis that we did. So really, we are working on a variety of areas. You'll learn more about it. But in the end, this is how our kids are performing on our common assessments, which really is the driver for our grades at Round Lake High School. In terms of the model that we implemented here, I'm not going to read this, you can see it, but we went with the transformational model because we knew we needed substantive and significant change at the high school. Characteristics of the transformational model really focuses on the instructional core, which is centered around the relationship between the content, the teacher, and the student. Preparing students for college and careers. I don't want to lose sight of the fact that not all of our kids will go to college, but they all need to prepare at least for a career and not a job, and those are very different. Providing structured interventions for students with English as a second language. You'll hear more about that. Improving teacher and leader practice. I'm a firm believer the single biggest contributor to improving student achievement is the quality of the teaching in the classroom. Bar none. So that's something that we're also focusing on. Using data and then continuing to engage our students, parents, and community. This slide depicts my reference to the instructional core. Richard Elmore is part of the Harvard Change Leadership Institute. But again, focusing on tightly on the relationship between content teacher and student. Just briefly, I will share some information on the divisionals. I'm not going to read this either, but with the fact that the single biggest factor in improving student achievement is the quality of the teaching practice, If that assumption is true, one of the biggest benefits that we have now are the hiring of our divisionals, because what they're able to do is to guide, support, and coach our teachers within each content area. And frankly, trying to think about doing this without that level of support is, it would be a lot. In a single math meeting at Round Lake High School, we have about 20 math teachers. In a single science meeting, we have about 20 science teachers. So as the principal, one of the things that I think is most critical to improving what we're doing is the monitoring piece. And so our divisionals are continuing to work on a daily basis with our teachers in terms of improving their professional practice, coaching, making recommendations on staff development, and the like. You can see some of the things we're working on. I alluded to the work on our failure rates, our course passing rates, however you want to. I tend to like to word things in a positive. So to me, it's about the percentage of our kids that are passing. But that entire school improvement day, almost all of the monitoring was done by the divisionals with the teachers directly. And so I think teachers are getting the attention and support that they need and deserve. High-performing schools have structured collaboration meetings with structured agendas, with purpose, and follow-up. Common Core professional development, we expect our divisionals to provide recommendations on what that looks like. We are partnering with the Regional Office of Education in terms of providing that cross-curricular literacy plan, teaching reading across the content areas, developing systems of academic and behavior interventions. You'll see what that looks like later in the presentation. And lastly, before I pass it off to Ms. Lake, this is a simple artifact that we developed this year, and it's not sophisticated, but we really feel like when we need to meet with purpose, there needs to be direction, and it's particularly me as the building principal, because I cannot be at every meeting, I need to know what was discussed so that I can provide my input, direction, and leadership. So at this particular point in the presentation, I will pass it off to Veronica Lake.
So as you can see, great things are happening.
We're really excited about the work that's happening at the high school and throughout the district. I think I'm pretty sure you've noticed already that there's definitely a system-wide trend happening here. As Dr. Mendoza said, that those conversations that happen on a daily basis between teachers about their practice, about the differences in student data and student learning are the things that our major researchers talk about. The conversations about how do you teach it, what was the student's response, how are you going to adjust? And then that professional development that goes along with helping teachers to see a different way to approach students who are beginning to struggle. And what I would say is it's phenomenal, actually. I've worked in 3 different high schools and things like that in 3 different states. But those conversations happening among high school teachers, I would say, is probably rare without a little bit of a nudge. You typically see those kinds of conversations happening between elementary schools and middle schools. And so having those kinds of practices in the high school as well certainly makes a difference when it comes to ensuring that all kids are moving forward and that we're all accountable for what's happening with students. So another component of the high school transformation plan was the addition of counselors. With our school counselors, in terms of preparing students for college and careers, we would want to see our students closer to the national model for school counseling. And that is about 250 students. We're not quite there, but we're working on it. Certainly, with the changes that we put into place this year, those caseloads are a little smaller, which allows counselors to have more of a face-to-face opportunity with their students that they are responsible for, as well as planning and working with them on the types of careers that they're interested in and the colleges that they're interested in. So that certainly is definitely helping. Another component of what we were planning with the high school transformation is that we would begin to do the research and start looking at freshman academies. That first year in high school, if you think about where our students are developmentally, they're just a little unique, sort of like they are third grade, right about sixth grade, they're a little different in ninth grade. Students are learning how to advocate for themselves. In addition to thinking about the responsibilities that come along with being in the high school and all the activities that are available to them that were not in middle school and in elementary school. So they're beginning to discover themselves, but we still have to guide them. It's not an age where we can begin to let go. So starting to look at what are those research-based practices that have been, there's evidence that they really work across the nation, and we've already started to take a look at that. That 8th grade transition period, again, having students know all along the way that, in so many years, in 5 years, in 4 years, you'll be thinking about what is it that you want to do with your life? What is it going to take? You may want to be a doctor, but if your math scores are hovering around, if they're not hitting above that 50th percentile ranking, we need to really start thinking about what are you going to need to do to kick it up a notch? How can we support you in meeting your goal? And then improve student support. The National Counseling has 3 domains that we focus on. One is the academic component, another is careers, and then that third would be that social emotional development. The belief is that when you pull all those things together, you are building more of an opportunity for students to be successful and whole adults. Because we want students to not only think about what their career needs to be, not only think about academically what that looks like, but how am I going to learn to advocate for myself appropriately as I become an adult? And so the addition of a counselor, as I said before, has helped us to reduce the caseload. So instead of having about 500 students each that they were responsible for, they now have about 400. So they can pull together and do some additional activities and things like that. We've increased student leadership opportunities. So if you've been in the high school over the past month, you've seen that we've got themes going. This past month there was the anti-bully theme, and a lot of activities went along with that, to include a movie where middle schools were invited over, and we had about 100 students and some parents and teachers right here in this auditorium looking at a film and having some conversation about that, because we know bullying can be a big thing. So we want to start working with students early. How do you meet some of those challenges as they come about? And our counseling plan is actually helping us with that. We're in our final phase of a draft, a 6 through 12 draft, because again, we want to make sure that we are implementing the things that we had discussions about when we were writing the Race to the Top grant last year. There was this overwhelming desire from staff across the district, about 27 people, teachers, leaders, work together to think about how are we going to work collaboratively to get our students thinking about college, thinking about careers. And so the counseling plan really encompasses a lot of that thinking. We recently had a visit to Montclair High School and learned that we're definitely on the right track as they are implementing a lot of these things already. And they were a support for us actually in helping us understand we're on the right path, and then giving us some ideas of some next steps. Freshman transition planning, again, as we start thinking about students who are coming over, and we've gotten through some of the strategies that were implemented in the middle schools over the last 2 years, I can certainly say that we've heard directly from teachers that, wow, our students, our freshmen that we have this year are probably some of our strongest students ever. And so we have to definitely give our hats off to our middle school partners who are definitely preparing our students to be ready when they come to us here tonight. Developing a monthly calendar of activities, again, related to those 3 areas, academics, careers, and social emotional development. As we roll out our plan for next year, our goal is to have students coming in with a plan that they update and monitor each year. as Dr. Mendoza said a little earlier, do our students know? You know, we want them to understand, what does this test score mean for me and my goals? How can I improve? Why does it matter? Instead of, you know, this is a big number, this is how we're performing as a district, we want it to be up close and personal for that student and for that parent, so that they know that they're definitely on the right path to be college and career ready for graduation. So I talked a little bit already about the counseling part of the restructuring. Again, it's 6 through 12, we're working on the plan. We want, and we've already started some expectations for each grade. For instance, as our counselors are beginning to meet with their students at different classes, there are specific things that they're working on with the 9th grade class, specific things that they're working on with 10, 11, and 12. We've had some field trips to occur already. We've got awesome partnerships with CLC, with our talent search group, where they're in here, and they've been in here. But we want to make sure that we're letting people know that there's a lot happening and they're great things. Our students have been involved in college visits already. We have another group coming up next week for college visits. We know that there have been some college visits happening at the middle school, because we want students to know it begins early, begin thinking early, begin planning early. Recently, we had a group of students, about 50, attend a Man Up activity over at Grace Lake High School, but it was funded through a grant with CLC. And one of the teachers who returned, one of our ELL interventionists who's new to our staff, shared that a student came to him specifically and said, you know what, this was awesome, now I know what I want to do with my life. So these activities are definitely making a difference for our students, and they're open to sharing that with our staff. If you come to the front of our building this week, you'll see that you have colleges plastered all over. If yours is not there, I would say please protest, and they'll get it up there. We had to add a few because it's college month. We have college visits happening throughout this month, not just for our Schuler students, but for all students. And it's amazing when you see students sitting down at the table with their parents or with the college counselor having conversations about what the college is like. So we're really enjoying that. I shared a little bit about our partnerships, but, and I'm not sure how much everyone is aware of these partnerships and what they brought to the table. But when we think about the number of counselors that we have, remember I talked about that 400 that they're serving, and our middle school counselors are serving even more than that. But it helps to have the Illinois resources, and it helps to have CLC at the table working with us, because it helps us to cut down on some of the activities that our counselors would have to do if we didn't have those resources along with us. And they are working with students to fill out applications. They're working with parents to complete that FAFSA. And if you have not had an opportunity to do that yet, parents, I promise you, even as an educator, it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. So it definitely helps to have someone alongside you working that through. Our Schuler scholars are involved in a lot of exposure and a lot of activities, and they are sharing those with us. When they have college visits come, you know, we are allowed to invite other students to come and participate. Our thinking is that while a student might not be ready or might not be in the window to be accepted at that college right now, who's to say that in 3 years they won't be? So we're trying to think a little bit more expansively than what we have before. Our goal is that when they leave us, they're ready, but that they also recognize that there are other opportunities that they can continue to push forward even when they're not here. And I'm amazed at the number of students that I've talked to over the last several months that have come in and sat down at the table and have a conversation with me and say how much they love their school, they love their community, and how much their plan is to come back here and give back to the place that raised them. And I think that's an awesome testament to the things that are happening in this community. I don't think that we could receive any better compliment than that. We added also a new EML interventionist to work along with our students who are learning English as a second language. The ELL program in the high school is you have to be able to earn credit as well as receive the service. If we don't have programs that allow us to earn credit, then we automatically are delaying, a student's graduation. So there's a careful balance there. But there's still a lot of work to do. The purpose of adding this position was so that we could provide additional support to students who had IEPs as well as being an English language learner at the same time. So this was an intervention piece that was put into place, and we're seeing some good results with that. Again, with this position, with special education, with whether it's music, whether it's PE, when we're having instructional conversations about how students are achieving and what needs to change, that is happening with every individual in the building, not just our core teachers, because it's all hands on deck. We're all accountable for the work. And so it's interesting to see those conversations happening among all groups and even between groups. So with the addition of a new E&L interventionist, we have been able to add some sections of corrective reading. We have added more assistance, more of an assisted reading program. We're implementing Read 180 System 44. A lot of those things that, again, it is that intervention piece. It's the extra, not your core. So we need to be able to do both. We need to be able to have that core instruction, but then we need to be able to give a double or a triple dose if necessary without delaying the student's graduation time. With special education, we're implementing a new co-teaching model. Again, with any new implementation, things are a little rocky. It's different to have to learn how to work with a partner and not see them as a glorified, assistant, but to look at that person as another expert in terms of differentiation, in supporting the content. So we're moving along with that. We do have alternative learning options. We've got a SALT program, which has been successful in helping us get more students caught up with maybe credit deficit. And we also have this year a program similar to SALT that is designed for our fifth-year seniors who have IEPs. We're developing course guides within special education. Again, even though we may have self-contained classrooms, these students are learning and using the same articulation guides that our other core courses are learning. It's just that they may be doing it at a different pace. They may have additional supports put into place, but again, when those teachers get together in science, they're having the same conversation. It doesn't matter whether you are teaching special education or whether you are an E&L teacher. Dr. Mendoza talked about our continuous improvement process. Again, this is a research-based process. We look at our data. You look at where you are. What is the information? What is it telling us? Then we think about diagnostically what needs to change. What needs to change with the way we do things? What needs to change with how long we do things or who does it? Again, that whole, let's plan it, let's implement it, let's come back and take a look at it. Not just, every once in a while, but frequently to see if we're getting the change that we said we were going to get, and then we act on it, take a look at it again, the cycle kind of continues to go. Through this continuous improvement process, we have developed SMART goals. And I'm not going to read this to you guys, you've probably heard about SMART goals before, but in terms of process, it's good to have a process in place. However, what are those snapshots that you can go after with all of your might and look for some change specifically, like right now and in the moment. And so our goals are SMART goals. And so if we bring it all together, our overarching goals are that we will implement mastery learning, and we're doing that with fidelity. It's a struggle. It's a lot of hard work, but you know what? It's great conversation. It's the right work. Increase in current graduation rate by 2% over the current year. If you have an opportunity to look at our school report cards, which are posted on our website, on the high school's website, you'll see that our 5-year graduation rate is a little better than our 4-year graduation rate, and that's not uncommon because some students need more time. We also have to think about our special needs students who may not graduate in 4 years, but they do graduate within 5. Again, our goal has to be that we recognize who they are, and we can pretty much tell you who our 5th-year seniors are, and there's a plan in place to ensure that we are pushing those students along so that they're not here with us a 6th year, unless, for instance, they're a student who may need a transition plan because of the severity of their needs. To improve our culture and climate. We heard from our students last year, we heard from our parents last year, that they want to see great things happening at the high school. Our kids are pretty proud of our high school, and they want the community to be proud of their high school as well. And so our goal has to be to change our image, to take a look at everything that we're doing to ensure that, we are the Round Lake that so many of you may have remembered from some time ago. And so our kids are keeping that forefront, our staff are keeping that forefront, and I believe that everybody definitely is all in on that. Utilizing assessment data to demonstrate increases in student data. Again, it's one thing to have it, it's another thing to use it. And I definitely believe that our staff are using the data. They're bringing conversations to us. They're asking lots of questions. They're bringing the research to us. And that is definitely what the kind of energy that you want to have if you really want to turn things around, is to get everybody talking about the it and not just talking about it, coming with solutions. And so we're pretty proud of that. The other goal is to reduce the overall percentage of truancy. If our kids aren't here, we can't teach them. And so we're really working hard on a variety of strategies to keep kids attached to school. We don't have a lot of after-school activities. So there are a lot of things that we're talking about, thinking about. If we want students to be engaged and connected to the school, then we have to find a way to keep them engaged and connected, and not just during the day, but after hours as well. So we're looking into a lot of those things. So our governance tactics, I'm not going to read those to you. You see those here. We have implemented a new SILT team. It's interesting to hear those teachers say, wow, I didn't think of it this way. Wow, this is a whole lot of work, but it's exciting. And if you come here any day at 4:30, 5 o'clock, there's still a lot of teachers in the building, and they're having these kinds of conversations, which is exactly what we want to see happen. We have goals and tactics aligned with those overarching goals. So we've got the overarching goals, but then there's specific tactics that are aligned with that. A lot of those Dr. Mendoza talked about earlier. Collaborating with the regional office, again, there's a lot to do. We can't do this all by ourselves, but we also know that we've got other high schools in the area that are approaching the same things that we are. So we're working along with them so that we have this seamless transition into implementing Common Core. Increase accountability for student learning. Once again, the reason we are here, the sole reason that we exist, is to ensure that kids are learning and that they are prepared, and that when parents send us a student, that we're sending them someone back that is the better for the time that they spent with us. And so we hold ourselves accountable for that. We have conversations about that. We're not pleased with everything that we see, but we're willing to kind of go back to the drawing board every time until we get it right. Designing and implementing parent universities. You heard a little bit about parent universities that are happening KA. We will have the same things happening here in the high school. Our first one, I don't think I have a date in my mind, but it will happen before the Christmas holidays, and we planned it that way so that we would have some of the data that we recently, for the assessments that we recently took with like Explore Plan. It's important for our students to know, again, know your numbers. What are your numbers? Kind of like with cholesterol. Know your numbers. We want our students to know their numbers. We want our students' parents to know their numbers. The more people can talk about specifically what those things are and what they mean, the better we will see, and faster we'll see things change as we move forward. Dr. Mendoza also talked to you about some of the things that we are struggling to have in place. Again, when we have a student that is struggling, whether it's behaviorally or whether it is social emotionally or academically, where do you go? And so we're a little limited in that, but we're not limited in our thinking, and we're not limited in our desire, and we're not limited in our push to create an answer for that. But you'll see here, this is just a sample, but we are in the process of developing what does that look like? Where does it go to? You know, who are the key people to kind of help with that? We recently submitted the high school to be a part of Title I grant. We have about 70% of our students here that are receiving free or reduced lunch, and so that kind of puts us in the category to be able to use those funds. When we look at the number of students that are struggling, we'll be a targeted program, so we will be able to target specific groups of students so that we can identify them early on. Like one of the key things for high-performing high schools is that we have a quick way of identifying when kids are struggling, not just by grades, but in their overall achievement, in their overall performance. Earlier, you saw a lot about the number of students that are performing below the 50th percentile on these national tests. In order to be considered college ready, that percentage is about somewhere, 65 percentile, the 65th percentile and above are those students that are ready to hit those rigorous tests, analytical thinking, all that. And so we want to make sure that we've got some systems in place for those kids that are struggling so that they can get the additional time and support that they need. Again, we're making decisions based on data. And staff have figured that out. So they collect data and bring it to us and say, this is what we're noticing over time and what do we need to do. I think that's awesome. That they're not waiting just for us to come to them and say, this is what we want to do. But they're looking at information also, and then they're coming with solutions for us to think about. So that's great. You're all involved. Developing that response and intervention piece. Again, both sides of the triangle. If we have kids that are struggling social and emotionally, how do we work with those kids? Because in order to be ready to learn, in order to be hammered in academically, we've got to make sure that that whole person is developed and receiving everything that they need. Remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We all have needs, and when we're operating under threat, our brain is not performing as well as it would when we're not. Implementing the Title I plan, and then formalizing ACT prep. Again, what is the test? How is it taken? Professional development for teachers on the critical things that you should know on a daily basis when you're teaching students that may come up, or how they may come up in an ACT test. So we are learning how, sort of like a military tactic. How are we going to isolate the problem, and how are we going to come in and attack that? And we believe that this is going to make a difference. In terms of the grants that we have here at the high school, again, Title I is new. However, we do have, there's a Perkins grant, and I'll share that with you. That's kind of a big piece of, a part of Title I on the national level that we have in place. But we'll use Title I dollars for targeted, really focusing in on students who are struggling, identifying what that struggle is, and how we're going to approach that struggle. Title II, you had, that's professional development and improving teacher and leader quality and practice. Title III, which is how our E&L program is funded. There's both federal and state grants related to that. In terms of additional grants that we use, again, I mentioned Perkins, career technical education, and then we recently submitted again for Race to the Top with a little more of a narrow focus on middle school through high school. So keep your fingers crossed. It would really be a great thing for the district to have that. And it already aligns. It was written to align with the work that we're doing right now in restructuring, so that it shouldn't be in new over. These last couple of slides, over there you saw that we have this career technical education annual report. And this just shows some of our kids. We have a lot of kids that are at Tech Campus. We have some career technical courses here at the high school. And again, we are building more towards those pathways. If we want students to have more of an opportunity to think about and to plan for what they want to do in college, then we need to have courses that allow them to participate in that here as well as over at the Tech Campus. And so we have a lot of students that are interested in career, in health and human services, which is outstanding. But we have probably about 120 students or so that earned dual credit last year. So high school credit as well as college credit, and that's outstanding. And again, this just tells you a little bit about Career Tech Ed. Our kids go over to the Lake Town Tech campus, and many of our students graduate with a certificate. So when you talk about being career ready, there are a lot of students that will go to college. There are a lot of students who may decide to go to community college, and we don't want them to think that that's a bad thing. If you're not ready, do not waste your money or your parents' money or your financial aid. You know what? Take it slow. You may want to take 1 or 2 courses, and those are the kind of conversations that our counselors are having with students. Not discouraging them from going, but helping them really think about, you know, what is it that you want to do. We have had our staff doing some articulation with CLC. Our math department has done some articulation with College of Lake County, because what they've shared with us is that our students that are coming in, they're not coming in at that level of math. You can see, as you know, you look at our results system-wide, that we got a lot of work to do with math. But we wanted to hear from them, what does that look like? And how can you support us? And so those conversations are happening as well. With that, are there any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board members?
When it actually pertains to that, we authorized a tremendous investment in taxpayer dollars with the restructuring. I'm very happy to see us off to such a quick start on what we're trying to accomplish. I think we're put very strongly forward in the right direction. So thank you for that. I look forward to future reports.
And kind of piggyback on that one, I know we're behind in a lot of areas, but to see the formative assessments and the standard-based grading is awesome, because we are ahead of the curve on that compared to a lot of schools in the area.
And you're absolutely right. Don and I have talked a number of times, in fact, I'm surprised he didn't bring it up, that compared to most of the schools, high schools in Lake County, we are ahead of where most of them are. They are working to get to where we are with the standard space here at the high school.
It's nice to hear that we're looking at benchmarking other high schools as well. It's very good to hear. Particularly high-performing schools.
And that's a part of the goals for the principals this year, is that every school is expected to go and visit a school and to take a team of a school that has similar demographics and that are high-performing schools, so that you know what it looks like, and it becomes easier to replicate the good things and to confirm the positive things that we're putting in place and that we're moving in the right direction. Any other
Just
questions?
the difference between that first restructuring meeting, where people weren't quite sure where we were going to go or what we were going to do, to see the amount of professionalism now in such a short amount of time.
I'm
Great
proud.
job. Great job.
Proud of the work that is going on in all of our schools, from the elementary through the middle school and the high school, and everybody is working hard. They're taking this seriously. And even though it's restructuring, it's an opportunity to turn our schools around, and opportunities that we may not have had if we had not been at this point of restructuring. So I just really want to thank everybody in all of our schools for the work that they're doing. And we know that we're only beginning, and that there is still a lot of work to do, but I believe that we're off to a good start. So kudos to those who are out there doing the work on a daily basis, and appreciate all the work that's being done by our administrators as they lead the charge. The superintendent's report, the physical education, State Board of Education waiver, which we have. This is the final year of the PE waiver. And this means that the waiver, which currently allows our students in grades 1 through 6 to participate in PE every other day rather than daily, that will change. and it will be necessary that they have that daily. Dr. Roberts is working with the school leaders to identify a plan for how PE will be implemented for the coming school years. I was able to have a meeting, as we shared before, with Congressman Brad Schneider. We heard from his aide last week, letting us know that he had an opportunity to speak with Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, regarding the Race to the Top grant application which we submitted. He spoke of his meeting with him and talked about the Brown Lake High School or Brown Lake team, the district's application, and spoke of how incredibly important this grant would be and how worthy the school district would be to receive the grant. We're hopeful that his support will assist us in the application process. We received from the PBIS network that all of our schools have been recognized, and so PBIS is our Positive Behavior Interventions and Systems, and so you're able to see what the status is for all of our schools. So now all of our schools are identified as PBIS schools. Soup with the superintendent. We've invited our 5 mayors to meet with the cabinet members on December 11th. The purpose of this meeting is to share the state of the district and to discuss and explore possible partnerships. The 2012-2013 district annual report. I really want to thank Heather for all of her work with that. One of the established district goals is the creation of a district annual report. The report is near completion and will be presented to the board during their November 18th regular meeting. The 2013 Joint Annual Conference, as you are aware, the Joint Annual Conference is scheduled for November 22nd through the 24th. All materials for the conference will be provided to the board at the November 18th regular meeting. And that is all for the superintendent's report.
Move on to Finance Committee update.
Yeah, that's mine. I encourage you all to review the Finance Committee. There's no interesting stuff in there, including a summary report from PMA about how we decide to structure the debt of the possible referendum, the high school project we've been discussing. It really looked at 2 different opportunities there. One is to maintain our tax rate consistent over a number of years. The other is to kind of maintain the debt payment year over year in the coming years. And we've looked at, we've done a real nice analysis to show what the benefits are of each, and it looks like depending on what happens with EAV, that maintaining our existing tax rate over the period of debt might have a slight advantage over the other model. So take a look at that, then we'll come back to the full board, I believe, on December 2nd as we get closer to discussing the results of the design committee work on the renovation project, the expansion project here at the high school, and discuss how to move forward regarding the referendum committee and pursuing the referendum to work on this building. We also got a preliminary look at the tax levy for next year. That's in there as well for your review. That'll come back to the full board. Kind of one of the interesting things we looked at tonight was possibly doing some energy efficiency grants in the district. They are state grants. They're available to us. They have a value of about $250,000 on the grant. And Charlie has some interesting ideas about how to improve the energy efficiency of one of our buildings through a roof project. And hopefully that will move forward. We'll get more information on that as we move forward as well. And that is basically the finance committee. Is that good, Mr. Johnston? Yes, sir. Outstanding.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions, comments? Okay, move on to new business, employment report.
I'm sorry. Are you taking questions about the presentation of what we just heard as parents in this district?
That was just a presentation. You could contact the district for some specific questions.
Sure.
If anyone has any questions, you can definitely feel free to contact my office or contact the high school or Dr. Peter Roberts. And so any of us would be more than happy answer any questions with your email to us at the meeting, or follow through in whatever way would assist in answering your questions.
To approve the employment report is listed.
You just made the motion, Mr. Daniel, second. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes. Motion carries. Accounts payable report.
The motion to approve the accounts payable report in the amount of $1,167,177.10.
Mr. Daniels made the motion, Ms. Love second. Any discussion? Roll call, please. Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries. Move on to positive occurrences.
I have one. I just happened to be sharing with one of my colleagues, who was tutoring my daughter last year in reading, their current stuff that they've been reading home from work, or from school, I should say, their homework and testing and things like that they're doing. And just, showing her how they're doing this here. And she just happens to be a reading specialist, by the way, and she was very, very impressed with the program that was picked out. So I'm very much looking forward to what you guys come up with in the program. Very good. She was very pleased to see that my daughter hadn't lost anything and how much, what an improvement in the material from last year to this year.
I think what we heard tonight was a positive occurrence. Absolutely. It's a great biology. You probably a lot of work. I think that's a very positive occurrence. Any future agenda items? I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, including legal counsel, exception C1, collective bargaining matters, exception C2, purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for specific discussion, whether a particular parcel should be acquired, exception C5, and litigation, exception C11. Sargent made the motion, Ms. Budine is second. Need to roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries. We're going to be going into closed session. I would like to